Ladies and gentlemen, persons of all ages, welcome back to the wonderful world of plugin effects. My name's Chris, and I will be your ringmaster through this wonderful world of audio plugins and creating character voices. Now, at this point, we've gone through a couple videos of how to set up this nice little character voice line. So we have a template here. We do have our cleaning effects already on our master bus, and I do have my noise floor track set up with a sample noise floor, and it's already set up to clean it up. So for this point, we're going to start dividing our character voices. Now on the left here, you'll see that I created a voice profile for each of the voices, and they basically tell me, okay, she's 17, so I need a younger voice. She's fast, she's clipped with her speech, little harsh, mean, cruel kind of a tone, raspy. So I do know what she's going to sound like. I have a few samples of her voice, so I recorded them over here. All of these high peaks are my handy dandy trusty clicker, and I kind of know where I'm going to be slicing these. I do have 7 characters, so let's go ahead and while it's pretty zoomed in, now if you're not familiar with Reaper, this wheel here in the middle is your zoom. So if you go in and out, it will zoom in and out. Now, for this, we're just going to go in and start splitting these and putting them on their lines. Normally, when I work, after the templates are set up, I will bring them down so that each track is relatively small. It makes moving the character voices a lot easier if you have them nice and trimmed up. So we're going to have them small for this. This is my extra track in case there's extra characters. There may be in future. I am working up here. I need to be able to see it, so I'm going to bring that down. The next thing that you may need to do, depending on you, is these are kind of tiny waveforms. Can't see them very well. Shift key, up arrow key will make them bigger. If yours are too big and running off the screen like this, shift key and down, and that will make them smaller. So it's shift up and down, and I want them just a hair bit bigger so I can see where I'm cutting. Now I'm going to split all of these up, put them on their 7 lines, and we're going to keep going. So to split quickly, S key on your keyboard. So I do know that this is where I split. I gave myself a little pause between. So it's S key here, here, and I just go right down. Now, one thing a lot of people don't know is while you're listening,
Asheville's descent into darkness, and
you can go ahead and split.
I bear witness.
So while it's playing, you can split before and after and make any kind of changes, adjustments that you need. For this, I don't need to. Now, for demonstration real quick, I did make a mistake, so I used my clicker. And what I would do is I would listen.
I bear witness to a tale more.
And I believe it's right here.
Sure. I've witnessed Asheville's descent.
So what I would do is come in at the top of the track or the bottom of the track, highlight that section. I'm going to zoom in, get it nice and tight. So we're getting it nice and tight here. And then we're going to get it nice and tight here. I am doing this now as just to show you that this will happen at some point. Now I have a split here in the middle of one person's dialogue. If I need to move that down and I want it lined up, you can see that you get these blue lines that go up and down the whole thing. And that will help you to line everything up. I would recommend, if you know you have a character that had a retake, put the retake, the whole section down, and then edit it on their actual lines. You'll get good enough where you can do it in no issue. This just happens to be the watcher's voice, so I don't need to do that. Now, this is Taya's voice, and one of these days I will get her name correct. Now, the reason you have that track down there, the noise floor, you can see I did not line these up so they're not overlapping, but that's okay because the noise floor will cover it. But I will bring this back up, and I am going to zoom out maybe, and we'll just keep bringing the characters down. That way we know everybody is on their own track. And I've only done these 7 characters. We're going to go through a couple of them. The female voice, the watcher voice, I'm going to skip those today. I'm going to do something fun because I feel like doing something fun right now. I know that Vex here, Vexus, he is a cyborg. So I want to play with my cyborg voice just for some kicks and giggles. So what I will do is I'm going to move to the cyborg track, which for me it's my green one. And then I am going to expand this track. Now I've highlighted this so that I can put it on repeat. Down here next to your play button, you have this nice little circle. If you don't know, it's your repeat. That means it will loop it and play it over and over and over again.
Give it up.
Okay? And
Give it up,
didn't like
Taya.
my take on that, so
You can't outrun destiny.
there we go. And all I really did was take the end of this,
Enough.
hold it back.
We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
Ugh. And that was it. All I'm doing is pulling it back.
Give
I
it
know
up,
that
Taya.
noise floor will take care of these gaps. This
You
is just a
can't
demo, so it
outrun
doesn't matter.
destiny.
I'm female.
Enough.
He's male. So the
We're
very first
exposed
thing I'm
here.
going to run
The
for
Colt's tracking
is a pitch shifter.
us.
Now, if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of plugins,
Enough. We're exposed here.
Rhea Pitch
The Colt's tracking.
is your go-to.
Give it up, Taya. You
I
can't
tend to bring
outrun
these up
destiny.
here because I like seeing them.
Enough. We're
I
exposed
have a lot of
here.
projects open.
The Colt's tracking
All right, so
us.
unstereo it because we don't want it in stereo. Then
Enough. We're
we're
exposed
going to first
here.
look at the algorithm
Colt's
and the
tracking.
type of character we're created.
Give it up, Taya.
Rubber band stretches and
You
twists
can't outrun
the frequencies.
destiny. Enough.
And
We're exposed here.
when you twist those frequencies and you stretch them, you can get some really cool effects on it. But I play with this. There's a reason there's 2 sets, the 3 3/3s and the 2 2/8s. They sound completely different. For this guy, I want him to sound robotic. I want him to sound offset. So I'm going to try this. I don't know if it'll work. This is a playing game. This is where you play. That's the fun of this. you're going to play this.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
Okay.
us.
All right. I just played with that a little bit.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's
I
tracking.
do a full octave shift on some voices. I will do it
Give it up,
on
Taya.
a different character. This
You
is not
can't
one of them.
outrun destiny.
If you have it hinted down,
Enough. We're exposed here.
it will shift
The cult's tracking
That
us.
little edge that you're hearing is the rubber band effect in this.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
You can hear it changes it there. The
Give it up,
parameters,
Taya.
we want to
You
preserve
can't outrun
some.
destiny.
You can play with this as well.
Enough.
I may
We're
or may
exposed
not.
here.
I think I'm going
The
to
cult's tracking
preserve the lower
us.
pitches because I want him to have lower.
Enough.
Normally,
We're exposed
when
here.
I'm doing
The cult's tracking.
the scent, the full ranges, I will
Give it
do
up,
full
Taya.
range to one side and the
You
opposite
can't
with the
outrun
scents.
destiny.
It
Enough.
balances.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
Now,
us.
just doing this does shift it. And the-
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya.
Okay. Wet
You
means
can't
more
outrun
effect,
destiny.
less dry, so less original.
Enough.
Dry is original
We're
audio.
exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
Okay, there we go.
Enough.
Autocorrect.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
That's not a bad.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
That's actually
us.
not too bad for a robotic voice, because the whole goal is to make it
Enough.
sound robotic.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Now,
Give it up, Taya.
I'm going to bypass that for a minute
You
and
can't
show you some other
outrun
effects that I
destiny.
have that I use. Now,
Enough. We're exposed
in the
here.
last video,
The cult's track.
I told you that I do recommend the RX Music production subscription, which is $20 US. So I'm going to play with some iZotopes. For those who decide to pay the $20 a month and get some of the better ones. So down here, you have many ways to see all your effects. All will show you everything. If you're looking for just VST3s, instruments, you can do those. Categories for different things. If you want to see your EQs, for example, I have quite a few. If you're looking for your dynamics, there's your dynamic range. For what I'm doing, I want to go to iZotope because I can, so I'm going to developer. And for this, I'm going to show you a couple different things. The first one is going to be an intense version of Backer. Backer is iZotope Nectar Advanced, and they have a bunch of different voices you can play with.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Okay, so that's...
Enough. We're exposed here.
Had to
The
make sure I
cult's
still had my effects
tracking
on. Okay,
us.
that's real cool. See what Alex does.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Una?
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
Just gonna turn the volume up a little bit.
Enough. We're exposed
Here. The cult's tracking.
Okay. Kate's not doing much. Kate
Give
doesn't
it up,
over...
Taya.
Kate
You
doesn't do
can't
much to my own
outrun
voice.
destiny.
Okay.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Johnny was the one I
Us.
thought would come out pretty good, because he's robotic anyway.
Enough. We're exposed here.
Stacy
cult's
and Kate
tracking.
don't do anything for my voice personally.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Okay. You can also
Enough.
play with some of these guys
We're
over
exposed
here. The different
The cult's
settings.
tracking us.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
I would probably play a
Give it
little
up, Taya.
deeper if I were to use this.
You can't outrun
Okay,
destiny.
so we're gonna
Enough.
take that one off
We're
for the minute.
exposed here. The cult's
I'm gonna
tracking
bring on
us.
Nectar 5
Enough. We're exposed here.
or Neutron 5.
The cult's
rather.
tracking.
In Neutron,
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
I'm gonna do a quick learn on this and see what
Enough.
it does.
We're exposed here. The
Always
cult's
dialogue.
tracking us.
It cleans it up.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Okay. But that's not what I want for this guy.
Give it up, Taya.
So we're actually going to
You can't
bypass
outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here.
that. Sometimes it's
The
easier
cult's
just to go
tracking
out and come back in and bring it back up.
Us.
Now I'm gonna go into the defaults.
Enough.
So
We're
here's my
exposed
default
here.
menu.
The cult's tracking.
You can use instrument presets
Give it up, Taya.
on
You can't
anything.
outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's
You can
tracking
do it.
us.
For my voice, I would probably be
Enough.
in keys
We're exposed here.
for instruments.
The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough.
Single click
We're
them, don't
exposed
double
here.
click them. That's what
The
I
cult's
just did.
tracking us.
But I'm not going to put the keys on either. I want to go down to the good stuff.
Enough. We're
Post,
exposed
podcast,
here.
and broadcast.
The cult's tracking.
Dialogues.
Give it
So
up,
you
Taya.
can go into these presets.
You can't
There's
outrun
tons of
destiny.
them.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
General de-esser, if you need a good de-esser.
Enough. We're exposed here.
Loud
The cult's
broadcast.
tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's
They added
tracking
a compressor up here, an
us.
exciter, and the EQ.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts
Okay, so
tracking.
you can go through and find the dialogue itself
Give it up,
is
Taya.
mainly to make you sound really good. So if you're
You
going
can't
after a certain
outrun
video
destiny.
project, I would play in there.
Enough.
Same with the masters.
We're exposed here. The Colts tracking us.
I mean, they give you a good play. Their
Enough.
reduced box is really
We're
nice.
exposed here. The Colts tracking.
Now we're gonna shut that one down a little bit, and
Give
we're
it up,
gonna go
Taya.
down to
You
sound
can't
effects.
outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts
Okay,
tracking
so that's Evil C,
us.
dramatic.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
And you'll just go through these one by one and play until you find something.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Okay.
Enough.
Now, just out
We're
of
exposed here.
curiosity,
The Colts tracking
I'm going to
us.
combine these two.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
That's pretty good for a robotic voice.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Okay, let's see.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
This
us.
is opening it up. I'm looking for a specific one.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
And synth grinder.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
And synth underwater.
Enough.
It's not bad.
We're exposed here.
But synth grinder
Colts
wouldn't be a bad
tracking
one to pick. But if
us.
you go down to vocals,
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
you get even more.
Give it up, Taya.
Now, in the vocal one,
You can't outrun destiny.
you can
Enough.
probably play that.
We're exposed here. The
I'm going
Colts
to bypass
tracking.
that again.
Us.
And let's see if they have
Enough.
some.
We're exposed here. The Colts tracking. Give it up, Taya.
If you have someone on a
You
phone,
can't outrun destiny.
this is excellent to put on
Enough.
for that
We're
one
exposed
voice.
here. The
So
Colts
this is telephone
tracking
voice.
us.
This is something I would play with. Here's the radio
Enough.
effects, and I was looking for
We're
that.
exposed here. The Colts tracking.
Okay. So we're
Give
gonna
it
go
up,
ahead
Taya.
and take these off.
You can't outrun destiny.
Okay, let's
Enough.
see what else we have to play
We're
with.
exposed here. The Colts tracking
Ozone.
us.
And I think they're about to drop another ozone. 'Cause
Enough.
I only have ozone.
We're
10 up here.
exposed here. The Colts tracking.
I don't really use ozone. It's too strong when
Give
I'm
it up,
using
Taya.
multi-tracks like this.
You can't outrun destiny.
But ozone also
Enough.
has a lot of mastering to
We're
it.
exposed here. The Colts
Um,
tracking.
It's choice if you want to
us.
play or not. I don't do it. It's too much. So
Enough.
Let's go ahead and
We're
take him
exposed
off.
here. The
Now,
Colts
I'm going to go
tracking.
into a different developer that I like a lot.
Give it up, Taya.
Is
You can't outrun destiny.
where'd you go? Melda Productions.
Enough.
Melda,
We're
I have their
exposed here.
subscription right now.
The Colts tracking.
It's
us.
rent to buy basically for $16 a month. But they have
Enough.
some wicked stuff as
We're
well.
exposed here. The Colts tracking.
From woman to man.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
And
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts
I've
tracking.
played with these, so I know which ones I'm looking
us.
for. They have a lot, but I'm looking for character voice. Is
Enough.
another one I love
We're
to
exposed
use.
here. The Colt's tracking.
And I go to the presets. Tons and tons and tons and tons
Give it up,
of
Taya.
presets.
You can't outrun destiny.
Let's see where this is
Enough.
going to take me.
We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
Nasally voice.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's
And
tracking.
they have a couple of them to choose from. So if you have someone with a cold
Give
in
it
your
up, Taya.
story, that's a good one to play with.
You can't outrun destiny.
Wawa's fun.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's
It
tracking.
shifts your audio left to right. You would have to have that on stereo.
Enough. We're exposed here.
Woodwinds.
The Colt's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
More corpses.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
You can shift to octaves.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's
Fundamentals.
tracking.
Brightness.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
Okay.
Us.
And other ways to play with this is M-comb is another one.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
And I would leave it right there because that's a
Give it
nice
up,
one.
Taya.
It's destroy.
You can't
It's in
outrun
pitch
destiny.
tracker and it's called destroy harmonic content.
Enough. We're
Um,
exposed here. The Colt's
The
tracking.
resonators as well.
Us.
Where's the voice?
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
If you take this one, combine it
Give
with
it up,
this
Taya.
guy,
You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking. Us.
there we go.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
And then if I
Give it up,
add in the
Taya.
pitch shift,
You can't outrun destiny.
I would actually change this to a darker
Enough.
pitch shift.
We're exposed here.
And
The Colt's tracking. Us. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking. Give it up, Taya.
100% on wets.
You can't outrun destiny.
Enough. We're exposed here.
There we go.
The Colt's tracking. Us. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking. Give it up,
Right about
Taya.
there.
You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
This is just a different version of the
Us.
pitch shift that I showed you from Maria. This is your shift
Enough.
format.
We're exposed here. The Colt's
Here you
tracking.
have the depth. This is your sense, as we were playing with. So
Give it up,
detune is your
Taya.
sense. This is the
You
shift
can't
format, which was the
outrun
top one.
destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
Now, in here,
Us.
you can also change the keys that you're speaking in.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colt's tracking.
So it'll shift all of your vocal pitches to
Give it up,
whatever
Taya.
key you choose.
You can't outrun destiny.
I like G sharp.
Enough.
we're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
G sharp and pentonic is...
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Okay. Now, the best part is I can actually do this
Give it up,
multiple
Taya.
times. There's different filters
You
for this
can't
one.
outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
Now, the
us.
feedback is giving me a little bit of that echoey, tinny sound. That's what you want for a
Enough.
cyborg.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
I
Give
don't
it up,
want that.
Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Now, that's your reverb.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
And you want
Enough.
just a hint.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Or you can turn it off.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
And the invert L
Enough.
will take some
We're
of that out.
exposed here. The cult's tracking
Filter 3
us.
will add just another layer.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it
And you
up,
can
Taya.
actually just hit these little dice and it'll
You
give you
can't
randoms.
outrun destiny.
You can control
Enough.
it or hit random.
We're
So that's
exposed here.
Melda
The cult's tracking
Productions.
us.
And again, you can
Enough.
probably get away
We're
with
exposed
doing
here.
replacing
The cult's
iZotope
tracking.
for this one, and this is 16 USD a month.
Give it up, Taya.
But when
You
they have their
can't
Black
outrun
Friday sales
destiny.
and their mass sales, you can pick
Enough.
part of them up for
We're
like $5,
exposed
$10
here.
a piece.
The cult's tracking
And once you buy it, it
us.
takes off how much you owe at the end. So it's a really cool system. I love how they set theirs up.
Enough. We're exposed here.
Now that would
The
be a
cult's
really cool
tracking.
cyborg as well. And
Give it up, Taya.
I actually think
You
I'm going to
can't
keep
outrun
this for
destiny.
him. So
Enough.
I'm going to
We're
bypass
exposed
these
here.
and show
The
you a
cult's
couple more.
tracking us.
I'll show you a couple other things that I love playing with. So
Enough.
I'm going to go up to all.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
And I'm going to do... Is it going to give it to me in real?
Give it up, Taya.
It's not.
You can't outrun
Now,
destiny.
I'm going to have to go through by hand
Enough.
to find these.
We're exposed here.
Okay, so
The cult's tracking.
wobblers are fun to
us.
play with as well. Not really for this guy. But I am looking for my
Enough.
delays.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
So
Give it up, Taya.
Our delays. Hi, Bentley.
You can't outrun
Obviously,
destiny.
Puppy said he wants to come and listen.
Enough.
I love you
We're
too.
exposed here. The cult's
So
tracking.
we're going to come to the delays.
us.
And these JSs are a part of the effects
Enough.
extension. So they're a
We're
part
exposed
of the
here.
SWS
The
and
cult's
RIA
tracking.
packs. This is a really cool one.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough.
By changing
We're
these, you
exposed
can
here.
actually change
The
the
cult's
sound as
tracking.
well.
Us.
One I like to play with is
Enough.
the
We're exposed here.
chorus.
The cult's tracking.
Not for this guy, but I do.
Give it up, Taya.
And then I'll bring
You
that
can't
in.
outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The
So
cult's
this is how you
tracking.
can add dimension and depth
us.
as well. It's not for this one, obviously.
Enough.
There's another
We're
one I
exposed
use
here.
quite a bit. It's
The cult's
so
tracking.
these are your JS files, and you can just click.
Give it
here
up, Taya.
if I remembered it.
You can't outrun destiny.
Next one I want to play with
Enough.
is,
We're exposed
again,
here.
it's
The
part
Colts
of the
tracking
system, so it's a JS. It's
us.
called iZotope Chorus. Love iZotope Chorus.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
Okay, and then
Give it up,
sprite time.
Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here.
So
The Colts tracking
I have 6.
us.
Spread it. Give it a little more wet.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
When you use that one in combination with,
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Rhea.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking us.
Put the pitch up top. It
Enough.
does
We're
matter.
exposed here. The Colts tracking.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking us.
So if I wanted my Cyborg to have a little echo to him, this is
Enough.
where I would go.
We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
Leaving it on stereo wouldn't matter for this guy
Give it up, Taya.
because
You
iZotope
can't
Chorus is already
outrun
doing it.
destiny.
So iZotope is
Enough.
doing a lot of
We're
that.
exposed here. The Colts tracking us.
Because this does give you that digital sound.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
These,
Give it up,
especially the
Taya.
cents,
You can't
a
outrun
half a cent
destiny.
makes a difference.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking us.
So this would be something I would consider
Enough.
for
We're exposed here. The Colts
using the
tracking.
built-in Reaper plugins. This is my go-to. I really like this one, and I think I'm gonna.
You can't
Use that.
outrun destiny.
But I
Enough.
may also add
We're exposed here.
shifter on
The
top.
Colts tracking.
So let's find out what it sounds
Us.
like if I use all of it. So we're gonna just
Enough. We're exposed here.
right-click
The Colts
and
tracking.
bypass.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
You will be able to hear it if I move this.
Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking us. Enough. We're exposed here. The Colts tracking.
You can hear the difference depending on
Give it up, Taya.
play with the placement, because that placement may be the difference between liking and not liking something.
We're exposed here. The Colts tracking
Okay.
us.
I'm not sure I would do this one all the time,
Enough. We're exposed here.
but if I know there's a section where he has damaged vocals, I would put the chorus on.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Now, at this point,
Enough.
knowing I got it where
We're
I like it,
exposed here. The Colts
here's where I'm going to go in and comp it.
us.
The thing with compression is going to be
Enough. We're
put it
exposed
on
here.
each vocal
The Colts
individually
tracking.
and put it after you do the coloring. So this is coloring it.
Give it up,
Put the
Taya.
compression on after for
can't
individual
outrun
characters. Your built-in effects for Reaper, so all the SJSs and your RIAs,
Us.
use minimal CPU. If you use any of the compressors,
We're exposed here.
from any other
The
company,
cult's tracking
it's
it.
going to use more resource. Be careful.
Give it up, Taylor.
I'm gonna, just for fun, I'll put 2 different compressors on.
Enough. We're
Uh,
exposed here. The cult's tracking
Let's play with another
us.
compressor that I have. Because the comb is a compressor, so M
Enough. We're
compress.
exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give
I'm
it
gonna
up,
go
Taylor.
with turbo.
You
And
can't
let's see,
outrun destiny.
turbo and 3.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
This is again
us.
Melda Productions.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
So I'm just
Give it up,
flicking
Taylor.
one at a time.
You can't outrun destiny.
That would be it.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
But if I were to
us.
bypass that and use RIA, I would pull the RIA down
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
to the top of these lines,
Give it
hit
up,
the
Taylor.
auto makeup,
You can't outrun destiny.
I'll
Enough.
wet,
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
auto release. You can play with these settings if you wanted to.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Okay.
Give it up, Taylor.
So
You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking
that's
us.
without the first compressor.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Actually, kind of,
Give it up, Taya.
I'd like to hear this one.
You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
This one is got a hum to her.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
So I actually don't like that one as much. I
Enough.
thought I would, but I don't.
We're exposed here.
So I'm
The
gonna
cult's
keep
tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
There we go.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
And you can always play with this stuff. I just like seeing what
Enough.
it does.
We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya.
And that's the one I'm
You
going to
can't
go with.
outrun destiny.
Okay, so
Enough.
what I would do is I would take
We're
this one
exposed
off.
here. The cult's tracking us.
Then I'm gonna take off.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
We're going to delete him. And we're going to
Give it
delete
up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here.
Okay, and
The
I'm going
cult's
to pull this
tracking
back
us.
just
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's
Let's see
tracking
what happens if I bypass that one.
us.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
Kind of like that.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny. Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking us.
But I do know where that effect is that I don't like, and that's the rubber band.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
Enough.
We're exposed here.
And you can
The
always
cult's
double-click this
tracking
side to adjust.
us.
And I'm going to go up one semitone.
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking. Give it up, Taya. You
There
can't
she is.
outrun destiny.
All right, there he is.
Enough.
We got him.
We're
And
exposed
if
here.
I need
The
this
cult's
because he's in a
tracking
battle scene and messes,
Us.
if I need to put this on because he's in a battle scene, all I have to do is
Enough. We're exposed here. The cult's tracking.
okay.
Give it up, Taya. You
All right.
can't outrun destiny.
So
Enough.
you're going to listen to this on loop. That's why you want at least a minute, or if you can, 3 or 4 minutes, because it will drive you nuts listening to the same thing over and over when you're adjusting these, okay? Now, I found what I like. I do know that there is a battle scene in this where his vocal cords get damaged. So I'm going to leave Oz4 chorus on bypass. Bypass, just what it sounds like. It just pauses it. When you want it, you put it on. When you don't need it, you don't put it on. So that's right click to get this menu open. And right click on these. And then you can get to see all the other fun stuff. So if I write on that, I can get the delete, which is also alt click. And bypass is shift click. That is pretty much where I'm going to go with this guy. So right now we do have effects. We have a compressor on here. And we have a chorus. This is not a standard compressor. This is a character voice compressor. There is a huge difference. And we'll get into that because I do plan in the future to do a video on just compressors. But for right now, I think we actually got a character that's pretty neat.
Give it up, Taya. You can't outrun destiny.
So
Enough.
we're going to play with this. We're going to keep this guy. And I am going to see you in the next one. And in the next one, we're going to get to play with Malroth, who is a demon. So demon and dragon voices, my two favorite things to play with. So we'll go into him next time. For now, have a wonderful day.